In the past 2 weeks, South Africa has once again been rocked by student protests. University students don't want anyone to be denied access to higher education because of financial difficulties. The South African Federation of Trade Unions, or SAFTU, is now throwing its weight behind the student protest. General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi believes that the introduction of online learning has made physical protests at universities merely symbolic. He believes the shutdown of the country's economy would bolster students' efforts. He joins us now this lunchtime. Mr. Vavi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. You, as a trade union federation, now throwing your weight behind the students, that mentioning in an opinion piece that I've read that you will not hesitate to mobilize your 800,000 strong membership in solidarity with the students. In your view, what is the real problem here, Mr. Vavi? Because we've been here for several years before.
Well, the main problem is that the government has embarked on an austerity program. Austerity is basically a program to cut expenditure, including on the frontline service areas such as education, healthcare, police services, even CCMA. Everything is not spared. Workers' wages have been cut. There's a four-year wage freeze that will end around 2024. The workers and the working class are under an immense attack from the government economic programs, and the government have taken a vow and have signed a pact with the devil in the IMF, World Bank, and the rating agencies that they will resolve all of the crises facing humanity and as a result of the capitalist crisis of 2008 at the back of the working class. And they're now doing that even by cutting the resources to the universities, and they're cutting back on the commitments that have been made to the students and in 2017. And they're leaving many students who have been promised free education, even within the limitations that the government has committed to fund only those that are having a combined income of below 350 rands. But they're cutting back on that. And that's what is leading to more and more people finding themselves financially excluded, unable to pay for the fees in this year, and therefore deciding to embark on a streak.
And coronavirus pandemic has made things worse, obviously, and that threshold of 350,000 rand per household is really, from some views I've seen, is not good enough. But what would free education look like? Can we have such a thing as free education?
Well, if we had political will, we can have that. Instead of cutting expenditure, and we could be embarking on a more aggressive funding program to ensure that we meet the most important demand, or one of the most important demands made by our people in 1955, that education shall be free. The reason why we don't have free education is a combination of two factors. The first one is that the leadership is scared to rock the boat. Rocking the boat will mean that we, instead of reducing the corporate taxes down to 27% now, whereas the corporate companies were paying up to 52% of corporate taxes in 1993, we rather choose to, or they rather choose to increase the VAT, instead of them ensuring that they arrest up to 400 billion rands, according to their own officials. 400 billion rands leave the shores of our country through illicit cash outflows. They rather be turning on cutting the expenditure on healthcare, on education, basic education included, instead of them ensuring that there is an introduction of solidarity tax and wealth tax in South Africa,
okay. So
because of the nature of transition we're embarking upon. They rather allow these corporates to dodge taxes, as demonstrated by the report of government. And that shows that between 250 and 350 rands is allowed to escape from the clutches of the treasury.
So there's a financial thing, there's a taxation issue in your view, but now you've written an opinion piece where you've pointed out a whole number of other big numbers. I mean, universities, I was speaking to University South Africa just the other day, the other lunchtime, and they say they can't afford to write off the historical debt of more than 10 billion rand, and the figure changes now and again to up to 12 billion rand. But now, as a trade union federation, you say you are willing to put your 800,000 strong membership behind the student protest to ensure that this matter is addressed. When and how are you planning to do so, sir?
Firstly, this is one campaign we have. This is a campaign against austerity. This is a campaign against neoliberalism. There is no distinction anymore between the battles workers are facing in terms of getting their wages put on freeze for 4 years and with government bolting out of an agreed-to agreement, and the fact that government is now cutting a 9.6 billion rand from the health department and 6 billion from the universities. So we are in discussion with the student leadership. Yesterday they were in a mass meeting, and we're waiting for a signal from them. And once we get that signal that they now need solidarity from the trade union movement, at that moment, we will then announce what type of action we're going to be embarking upon, because it is actually the student struggle is our struggle. We are their parents who are unable to afford a university fees. It's not a student matter. This is a worker issue. This is a working class issue.
Thank you very much, Sir Zwelinzima Vavi, General Secretary of the South African Federation of Trade Unions.